39% of working Americans now have a side hustle. That is not a niche trend anymore. That is a third of the workforce. But here is the number that nobody talks about. According to a 2025 Bankrate survey, the average side hustle brings in less than $200 a month. $200 for hours of evenings and weekends given up. That is not a wealth-building strategy. That is a part-time job that pays worse than your regular job. And the reason is almost never effort. The reason is that most people pick their side hustle completely backwards. They pick something trendy, something they saw in a video, something that sounds exciting for a week, and then they wonder why it never turns into real money. In this video, I am going to walk you through the side hustles that actually scale into a second income, the ones that stay stuck at $200 a month forever, and the exact framework for picking the one that fits your skills, your schedule, and your goals. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which hustle to start this week, how much you can realistically expect to earn at each stage, and how to avoid the 3 mistakes that keep 90% of side hustlers broke. I want you to stay until Chapter 8, because that is where I break down the single decision that separates people who turn a side hustle into a full income replacement from people who quit after 2 months. This is not theory. Every number in this video comes from real income reports, IRS data, and platforms people actually use to earn money in 2026. If you are tired of living on one paycheck and wondering if there was a way out, this video is that way out. Let's start from the beginning. Why most side hustles fail before they even have a chance.
Here is the uncomfortable truth. Most side hustles fail, not because the idea was bad, but because the person picked it for the wrong reason. A 2024 study from the Federal Reserve on gig income found that 56% of people who start a side hustle quit within the first 90 days. 90 days. That is not enough time for almost any income stream to build momentum. Think about your regular job. Did it pay you well in the first 3 months? Probably not. You had to learn the systems, build relationships, get faster. A side hustle is the same, except most people expect it to pay like a full-time career from week 1, and when it doesn't, they quit and call it a scam. The first mistake is chasing trends instead of matching skills. If you have 0 experience with video editing, but you start a side hustle editing videos because you saw someone make $10,000 a month doing it, you are not competing on a level field. You are competing against people who have done this for years, and you will burn out trying to catch up. The second mistake is underpricing so badly that the hustle can never become a livable income. If you charge $15 an hour for a skill that should be worth $50, you would need to work 40 hours a week on top of your regular job just to hit $2,000 a month, and nobody sustains that. The third mistake, and this is the big one, treating a side hustle as a lottery ticket instead of a business. People spend money on courses, on equipment, on ads, before they have made a single dollar, hoping the investment will pay off. Real side hustles that scale start with almost 0 cost and prove they work with real customers before you spend anything. Keep that in mind, because every hustle I show you in this video follows that rule. Low cost to start and a clear path to charging more as you get better. In the next chapter, I am going to start with the category that has the lowest barrier to entry and the fastest path to your first $100. Hustles built entirely around a skill you already have.
If you need money in the next 30 days, skill-based freelancing is almost always the fastest route because you are not building an audience or inventory from 0. You are selling a skill you already have to someone who needs it right now. Writing, bookkeeping, virtual assistant work, graphic design, basic web updates, social media management for small businesses. These are all skills that regular people already have from their day job. And platforms like Upwork and Fiverr, plus direct outreach to local businesses, connect you to buyers immediately. Here is a real number. According to Upwork's 2025 Freelancer Income Report, freelancers who specialize in one specific skill and niche, for example, bookkeeping for dog groomers instead of just general bookkeeping, earn on average 43% more per hour than generalists. That is the first lesson. Get specific. Do not offer to be a virtual assistant. offer to be the virtual assistant for busy real estate agents who need their inboxes managed. Specificity lets you charge more because you sound like an expert instead of one option among thousands. Second lesson, and this is the pricing mistake I promised you. Most beginners price their hourly rate based on what feels comfortable to ask for, not what the market actually pays. If you can format a spreadsheet cleanly and do basic bookkeeping, that is worth $25 to $35 an hour to a small business owner who would otherwise have to do it themselves after a 12-hour day. Start at that number, not at $12 an hour. You will get fewer clients at first, but the clients you get will value the work more and stay longer. Third, your first 5 clients should come from people you already know. Post in your own network before you spend a single dollar on marketing. A realistic timeline, your first client within 2 to 3 weeks of consistent outreach, $500 in your first 60 days if you commit 5 to 8 hours a week, and a genuine path to $1,500 to $2,000 a month within 6 months if you raise your rate every time you get a new client. That is not a get-rich-quick number. That is a real second paycheck number, built on a skill you probably already have sitting unused.
Content creation and digital products work completely differently from freelancing, and you need to understand the difference before you pick one. Freelancing trades your hours for money. You always have a ceiling because there are only so many hours in a week. Content and digital products trade your time up front for something you can sell over and over without doing the work again. That is called leverage, and it is the only way a side hustle eventually earns more than your job without you working more hours. Here is the catch nobody tells you. Content and digital products are slow in the beginning, often for months, and that is exactly why most people quit before it works. A 2025 report from Gumroad on creator income found that the median digital product creator makes under $100 in their first 6 months. But the top 20%, the ones who kept publishing consistently, crossed $4,000 a month by month 12. The gap between those two groups is not talent. It is consistency through the slow part. What actually works in 2026? A simple digital product, a template, a guide, a spreadsheet, a short course built around a problem you have personally solved. If you figured out how to budget on a tight income, a $15 budgeting template sold to people in the same situation can sell hundreds of copies without you doing anything after you build it once. YouTube and TikTok content works the same way, except you are selling attention instead of a direct product, and that attention becomes ad revenue, sponsorships, or a funnel into your own product. The realistic math. Platforms typically pay creators between $2 and $6 per 1,000 views once you are eligible for monetization, which means content alone rarely replaces an income fast. The real money is in using the audience to sell something. If you are willing to be patient for 3 to 6 months while you build an audience or a product library, this category has the highest ceiling of anything in this video. If you need money in the next 30 days, go back to freelancing first and treat content as the thing you build in the background for the long game. Reselling is the most underrated side hustle in 2026 because it does not require a skill, an audience, or years of patience. It requires spotting price gaps and moving inventory. The model is simple. Buy an item for less than its resale value, sell it for the difference. Thrift stores, clearance sections, garage sales, and liquidation pallets are full of items that are worth 2 to 5 times more on resale platforms like eBay, Poshmark, and Facebook Marketplace than their sticker price, because most shoppers do not know what things are actually worth. A 2025 eBay seller report found that part-time resellers who source consistently, meaning 2 to 3 sourcing trips a week, average $600 to $1,200 a month in profit after their first 90 days. That number holds up because it is based on volume, not luck. The category that consistently performs best for beginners is clothing and shoes, specifically name brands in good condition, because demand is constant and shipping is cheap. Electronics and collectibles can pay more per item, but they require more knowledge to avoid buying something broken or fake. Here is the step-by-step. First, learn to check sold listings, not asking prices, sold prices, on the platform you plan to sell on, so you know exactly what an item is worth before you buy it. Second, Start with a budget you can afford to lose completely, usually $100 to $200, because your first few sourcing trips are where you learn what sells and what sits. Third, price to move, not to maximize. An item that sells in a week at a smaller profit builds cash flow you can reinvest, while an item sitting for 3 months waiting for a higher price is money frozen, doing nothing. The common mistake here is buying based on what looks cool instead of what has proven demand. Check sold listings before every purchase, no exceptions. Reselling will not make you rich on its own, but as a cash flow side hustle that funds your other goals, few things beat it for how fast you can start and how quickly the first dollars come in.
So far, everything I have covered can realistically get you to $500 to $1,500 a month. This chapter is different because high-income skills are the only category on this list with a real path to fully replacing a salary. High-income skills include copywriting, sales, video editing, web development, UX design, and technical consulting, skills that businesses will pay a premium for because they directly generate revenue or save significant time. A 2025 salary survey from Contra, a freelance platform for skilled professionals, found that freelance copywriters with even 1 year of consistent client work billed an average of $65 an hour, and freelance web developers averaged closer to $90 an hour. Compare that to skill-based freelancing at $25 to $35 an hour. This category can be 2 to 3 times more valuable per hour of work. The trade-off is real. These skills take longer to learn, typically 3 to 6 months of focused practice before you are good enough to charge professional rates. But here is the part that matters. You do not need a degree or a certification to learn most of these. Copywriting can be learned from free resources and practiced by writing sample ads for real businesses. Video editing can be learned on YouTube and practiced by editing content for free for 2 or 3 small creators to build a portfolio. The path looks like this. Month 1 and 2, learn the fundamentals and build 3 to 5 portfolio pieces, even if unpaid. Month 3, land your first paid client, likely underpriced while you build confidence and testimonials. Month 4 through 6, raise your rate with every new client, because testimonials in a portfolio let you charge what the skill is actually worth instead of what a beginner charges. By month 6 to 9, a consistent high-income skill freelancer working 15 to 20 hours a week can realistically hit $3,000 to $5,000 a month, genuinely enough to replace a full-time job for many people. If you have the patience to spend 3 months not making much money while you build the skill, this is the category with the highest realistic ceiling of anything in this video, and it is the one I would tell my younger self to start first.
While everyone online is chasing digital hustles, local service work is quietly one of the highest paying, lowest competition categories that exists because most people overlook it as unimpressive. Pressure washing, lawn care, moving help, pet sitting, house cleaning, handyman work, these services have almost no online competition because they cannot be outsourced overseas or automated by an app, and every homeowner in your area is a potential customer. A 2025 Thumbtack Marketplace report showed that pressure washing side hustlers working part-time on weekends averaged $80 to $150 per job and could reasonably complete 3 to 4 jobs on a Saturday. Do that math. 3 jobs at $100 is $300 in a single day for a service that requires a rented machine and a few hours, no license, no degree. Pet sitting and dog walking through apps like Rover show similar patterns. Sitters who build repeat clients in their neighborhood average $400 to $800 a month working evenings and weekends around a full-time job. The advantage of local service work is trust compounds fast. Do a good job for one neighbor and you get referred to 3 more because word of mouth in a physical neighborhood moves faster than most online marketing. The downside is it does not scale the way digital hustles do. You are still trading hours for dollars, and there is a ceiling based on how many jobs you can physically do. The move that changes this: once you have more demand than you can handle yourself, you hire a second person to do the work and you keep the margin, effectively becoming a small business owner instead of a solo side hustler. That is a later stage move, but it is worth knowing this category has that path, because most people assume local service work stays small forever, and it does not have to.
Remember the $200 a month I mentioned at the very start of this video? The average side hustle income? This chapter is exactly why most people get stuck there, and it comes down to one number: your hourly rate. Most beginners set their price based on what feels safe to ask for, not on what their time is actually worth once you account for everything involved. Here is the math nobody does. If your goal is an extra $1,500 a month, and you charge $20 an hour, you need 75 hours a month, which is roughly 19 hours a week on top of a full-time job. That is not sustainable, and it is why most side hustlers burn out. But if you charge $50 an hour instead, the same $1,500 a month only takes 30 hours a month, about 7.5 hours a week, completely sustainable alongside a full-time job. The number that matters is not how much you earn per month, it is how much you earn per hour, because that number determines whether your side hustle fits into a real life or eats it entirely. So how do you actually raise your rate? Every single new client is a chance to charge more than the last one, because you have more proof, more testimonials, more speed. A common rule among successful freelancers is to raise your rate by 10 to 20% every 3 to 5 clients, until you start losing more potential clients than you are comfortable with. That resistance point is close to your real market rate. Also, stop billing by the hour when possible, and price by the project or the result instead. Because a client does not care how long a task takes you, they care what it is worth to their business. And pricing by value instead of time is how skilled freelancers earn 2 or 3 times more for the exact same work. This single shift, from pricing based on comfort to pricing based on value, and raising it consistently, is the difference between a side hustle stuck at $200 a month forever and one that turns into a genuine second income.
Nobody wants to talk about taxes on a side hustle, and that is exactly why so many people get an unpleasant surprise in April. Here is what you actually need to know, without a lawyer or accountant. In the United States, once your side hustle earns more than $400 in net income for the year, you are required to report it and pay self-employment tax, which covers Social Security and Medicare, currently around 15.3%, on top of regular income tax. That sounds painful, but here is the part that makes it manageable. A large portion of what you spend to run the hustle is tax deductible. Mileage if you drive for the hustle, a portion of your phone bill if you use it for client work, equipment, software subscriptions, even a portion of your home internet if you work from home. All of these reduce the income you actually get taxed on. A simple habit that saves people from a scary tax bill: set aside 20 to 25% of every payment you receive into a separate savings account the moment it lands, and never touch it. That way, when tax time comes, the money is already sitting there, instead of being a surprise you have to scramble for. If your side hustle grows past a few $1,000s a month, this is the point where forming a simple LLC starts to make sense, mainly for liability protection. If you do local service work and something goes wrong on a client's property, an LLC keeps that risk separate from your personal assets. It costs a few $100s to set up in most states and is not necessary on day one, but it is worth planning for once the income becomes real. The point of this chapter is not to scare you away from your side hustle. It is to make sure the extra income you are building does not turn into a tax problem that erases months of work. Set aside the percentage, track your expenses, and the tax side of this becomes a non-issue.
The number one reason people quit a promising side hustle is not that it stopped working. It is that they burned out trying to do it on top of an already full life. A 2025 Deloitte gig economy survey found that side hustlers who worked more than 15 hours a week on their hustle, on top of a full-time job, reported burnout at nearly double the rate of those who kept it under 10 hours a week. And burnout was the single biggest predictor of quitting within a year. So the goal is not to work as many hours as possible. It is to build income efficiently within a sustainable number of hours. Here is how people who sustain a side hustle for years actually structure their time. First, they pick one dedicated block, not scattered minutes. For example, every side hustle task happens between 7 and 9 in the evening on weeknights, plus a few hours on Saturday morning, rather than trying to squeeze in random 10-minute sessions that never add up to real progress. Second,
They batch similar tasks, all client communication in one sitting, all content creation in another, because switching between different types of work constantly is what actually drains energy, more than the work itself. Third, and this is the one most people skip, they protect one full day a week with zero hustle work at all. Because rest is not a reward for finishing, it is what makes the other 6 days sustainable. A realistic, sustainable pace is 8 to 12 hours a week. That is roughly 90 minutes a day on weeknights, plus a few hours on the weekend. And at the rates we discussed earlier, that pace alone can realistically build to $1,500 to $3,000 a month within 6 to 9 months, without wrecking your sleep, your relationships, or your actual job performance. Side hustles that last are built on a pace you can keep up for a year, not a sprint you can only manage for 3 weeks.
Now let's answer the question I planted earlier. What happens once your side hustle starts making more than your job? This is the moment that changes everything, and most people handle it wrong in one of two directions. Some people quit their stable job too early, the moment the side income looks exciting, before it has proven itself over enough months to be reliable. And then a slow month arrives with no safety net behind it. Others do the opposite. They let a genuinely thriving side hustle stay small forever because leaving a stable paycheck feels too risky, even after the numbers clearly say it is time. The healthier approach, used by people who make this transition successfully, is a simple rule. Do not seriously consider replacing your job until your side income has matched or exceeded your job's take-home pay for 3 consecutive months. Not one lucky month. 3 consistent months tells you the income is a pattern, not a fluke. Once that threshold is hit, the next step is not necessarily quitting immediately. Many successful transitions go through a stage of dropping to part-time hours at the day job first, if that option exists, which keeps some stability while giving the side hustle more room to grow into a full income. Financially, the standard safety net before making this leap is 3 to 6 months of expenses saved separately from your regular emergency fund, specifically to cover the adjustment period, because even a proven side income can dip when it becomes your only source of money, and the pressure changes how you operate. The mindset shift that matters most here: once your side hustle becomes your main income, it stops being a hustle and starts being a business, which means the tax habits, the client systems, and the pricing discipline from earlier chapters in this video are no longer optional extras. They become the foundation the entire household depends on. Getting to this point is rare. Most side hustlers never get here. But for the ones who follow the framework in this video with consistency, it is a realistic outcome within 1 to 2 years, not a fantasy. Before you go pick a hustle from this video, you need to know what to avoid, because the side hustle space is full of models specifically designed to take money from beginners rather than help them earn it. The biggest trap is multi-level marketing, commonly called MLM. Companies that recruit you to sell products, but the real business model is recruiting other people beneath you, and you profit mainly from their purchases and sign-up fees, not actual product sales to real customers. A widely cited 2021 Federal Trade Commission analysis found that the overwhelming majority of MLM participants, commonly cited north of 99%, make no profit at all once you account for the cost of the products they were required to buy. If a hustle requires you to buy expensive inventory up front, and the primary way to earn is recruiting other people rather than selling to outside customers, walk away. The second trap is paid courses that promise a specific hustle will make you a guaranteed amount of money. Real income depends on your effort, your market, and your consistency, and no course can guarantee a result, no matter how confident the sales page sounds. If you want to learn a skill, free resources on YouTube and free tiers of platforms can teach you 80% of what a $500 course teaches, and you should prove the hustle works with free knowledge before ever paying for advanced training. The third trap is any opportunity where you have to pay money before you can start earning. Legitimate side hustles either cost nothing to start, like freelancing your existing skills, or require a small, controllable amount for inventory or equipment that you choose, like reselling or pressure washing. The pattern across every real trap is the same. Money flows from you to them before any real value flows back.
Every hustle covered earlier in this video can be started for free or under $200, proving it works with real customers before you spend anything serious. Keep that rule in your head every time a new opportunity sounds exciting.
Everything in this video means nothing if you close it and do not take a single step. So here is the exact 30-day plan to go from zero to your first paying side hustle client or sale. Days 1 through 3, pick one hustle from this video, not 2, not 3, 1. Choose based on how fast you need money. If you need cash in 30 days, pick skill-based freelancing or reselling. If you can be patient for a bigger long-term payoff, pick a high-income skill or content and digital products. Days 4 through 7, set up the bare minimum to start. A simple profile on a freelance platform, or your first sourcing trip to a thrift store, or your first 3 practice pieces if you are learning a high-income skill. Do not wait for it to be perfect. A good enough start beats a perfect plan that never launches. Days 8 through 14, make direct contact with potential clients or customers every single day. Message 5 people in your network, list 5 items, send 5 outreach messages. Consistency in this window is what separates people who get their first dollar from people who give up wondering why nothing happened after doing it twice. Days 15 through 21, you should have your first client, sale, or booking by now, even if it is small or underpriced. Take it, deliver excellent work, and ask for a testimonial or a review the moment it is done, because that testimonial is what makes client number 2 easier than client number 1. Days 22 through 30, raise your price or your ask by at least 10% for your next client or listing, and start tracking your hourly rate so you can see it climb over the coming months. If you follow this exact structure, 30 days from today, you will have real proof that a second income stream is possible for you, not as a theory, but as a small deposit that already happened. The people who build real wealth from side hustles are not the ones with the best idea. They are the ones who took the first unglamorous step in week 1 and kept adjusting from there.
Let's bring this together. Skill-based freelancing gets you your fastest first dollars. High-income skills like copywriting, design, and development have the biggest realistic ceiling if you're willing to invest 3 to 6 months learning. Local service work is the hidden gold mine almost nobody talks about. Reselling builds cash flow fastest with the least skill required. And content and digital products are the slow-build, high-leverage play for the long term. But if there was one thing from this entire video I want you to remember, it is this. The difference between a side hustle stuck at $200 a month and one that becomes a genuine second income is not the idea you pick. It is whether you price your time based on its real value and raise that price with every bit of proof you earn. That one habit, more than any platform or trend, is what moves people from stuck to scaling. If this video changed how you think about the extra hours in your week, do one thing before you close it. Pick your one hustle from this video and do the day 1, day 3 action from the plan I just gave you today, not next Monday. Small, consistent action beats a perfect plan you never start. This is for education, not financial advice. Always think through your own situation before making financial decisions every step of the way. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.